Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I am your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been a varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Currently, my daughter and I are coaching one of the best AAU teams in the country. Breaking news, Piston fans, after last night's game loss, 123 to 108 loss to the New Jersey Nets. Coach Casey did not show up for the post-game interview until much later than usual. So he didn't get to be on Piston Live. Usually he appears at the end of Piston Live, which is what the Valley Sports has at the end of their broadcast. But why he didn't show up was because he was meeting with team owner Tom Gores. So Tom Gores doesn't go to all the games, but he does typically go to the last game, and it's fan appreciation night. But I don't know if it's typical that the owner would meet with the head coach, and it's obvious that they had some discussions about the team direction and possibly his future. So he is a lame duck coach, which means he has 1 year left on his contract next year, but typically coaches are either fired before their last year or they're given an extension. So it doesn't sound like that's happened. You know, we did hear Troy Weaver gave his manifesto just a couple days ago, and he said, make no mistake about it, we are all disappointed with our record this season, but we are confident that we continue to be in the right path to success. We appreciate your patience, trust, and loyal support as we continue the journey together. So he's saying there that they're disappointed in the season, and I do not blame Coach Casey for all the problems. And I know I've taken a little bit of flack from some listeners, but I am a big proponent of who Coach Casey is as a man and that he's an excellent coach. I do also feel like we need to go in a different direction. And just by reading the tea leaves, it does appear that there's a good chance that Coach Casey could be leaving. But after he talked to Tom Gores, he said, we talked about how we're going to go look at everything and meet again after we're all done and see which way we all want to go as far as the organization. There's nothing that's been decided as far as that's concerned. So, yeah, there's nothing decided. Coach Casey is the sixth longest tenured coach in the NBA, and the only coaches that have a longer tenure are Popovich, who's going to the Hall of Fame this year, Coach Kerr, who's won 5 championships, Budenholzer, who's won an NBA championship, Spoelstra, who's won an NBA championship, and Mike Malone, whose team has the best record in the West this year. So those are the only coaches who have had their job longer than Dwane Casey. So he went on to say, I'm here. I'm under contract for another year. I commented to Tom that we were winning 60 games when he left Toronto. I think they won 59, but they won a lot of games. And now he said we're losing 60 games. But I'm committed to him to come in and turn around the organization. We are where we are right now. I know it seems like we're forever away, but we're not that far away. This team is not that far away. Well, Coach Casey, I couldn't agree more with you. I've said repeatedly, I do believe that no matter what happens, no matter if we get Victor, no matter who the new coach is, that we're going to take a big step forward and that we're going to win 15 to 20 more games next year than we did this year. But interesting, too, that, Troy Weaver wasn't mentioned in any of this discussion. And Troy, it's interesting also that Troy Weaver came in and took over the Pistons and tore it completely down. We didn't really have any assets to build off of, but most new general managers always hire a new coach. They don't keep the coach who's already in place. And Troy Weaver respected Dwane Casey after meeting with him enough that he kept him on. And I'm not saying that that was a bad decision. I think in many aspects it was a very good decision. And Coach Casey, obviously, he would like to stay. He said it would be good if he stayed, but I don't want to go down that. I want to do what's best for the organization, whether it's coming back. I love coaching. I love teaching. I'm not going to sit here and predict the future. We'll see what happens in the future. We have 2 games left to go. So, you know what? I love Coach Casey for his passion for coaching. I'm a year older than Coach Casey. I'm 67. Coach Casey's 66. I love to coach. I'm pro coach. I feel bad, I being coach for as many years, over 40 years, that coaches are easily criticized. There's every fan out there that knows more than the coach. And so when I sit here and say things, I'm not any different than those other fans. And again, it's harder to be a coach than I think most people realize. It's easier to sit and watch a game and tell the coach what they coach should have done, especially after they lose a game. There will be a lot of time to sit down and figure out everything, whether it's coming back to coach here or whatever Tom has and Troy have for me. So he said, I'm a big boy. I'm not going to fade away or fade into the sunset or anything like that. Casey continued, there's a lot of basketball still in me. I'm not sitting here looking for pity or anything like that. Whatever Tom decides to do and they decide to do, it will be that way. So, it sounded, we've never heard ever a vote of confidence, and sometimes that's the kiss of death, but we've never heard anybody come out and say, when the teams lose a lot of times, the general manager or owner will come out and say that they believe in the coach and, he's secure in his future. But we are 16-64. Casey's been dealt a bad hand, and no coach would have had a great season this year with all the injuries that we've suffered and with such a very young team. Having all said that, I have, in past podcasts, I have outlined how there are, at least 6 different coaches that have been hired in the last 3 years who have come in, and for a variety of reasons, their team has turned around and the direction of their franchise has turned around, and they have increased in like 1 year where they won 15 or 20 more games than the year prior. It happened with the Suns. It's happened with the Kings this year. It happened with the Cavs. It's just happened with a lot of teams. Oklahoma City's taken a huge jump, and even Utah is far exceeded. They hired a new coach and far exceeded expectations. So it's just, like I said, if you look at everything that's unfolded, you try to read between the lines of what Coach Casey said, and my gut feeling is that they will meet, and they have already started discussions with, at least between Gores and Troy Weaver, about going into a different direction with the head coach. So on a lighter note, it tickled me. I wanted to put this in a prior podcast, but on April 1st, there was a news leak that Wemby was going to go back, had decided that he was going to go back and play for another year in France. And so that had obviously all the tanking teams in a frantic panic. But it was April Fool's Day. So, and Wemby even played along with it and tweeted something that made people think that maybe he was going to come back. So that was pretty funny. I'm sure not for the Pistons for at least a minute. But I go to YouTube and find this play that just recently in a game this week where Victor Wembanyama, he's dribbling between his legs back and forth. He jabs forward, does a step back three-pointer. He misses it. The ball comes off the rim and bounces up 3 feet above the rim and 3 feet out away from the rim. And Victor grabs it with one hand and dunks it. And I mean, that's just a snapshot into what amazing player he is. And I will personally tell you, none of us know. It is all luck. When Zion came out and the Pelicans got to draft him, they had the 8th worst record. So they jumped from number 8 and got the first pick. And that can happen this year and easily may happen. But we are officially have the worst record. So we are now, there's mathematically no way that we're not going to get at least the 5th pick. So I know if we don't get that first pick or second pick or third pick, you'll say, why did we go through all this and why did you want us to tank? But we get at least the 5th pick. We have at least a 14% chance of getting those first 4 picks and each of them. And this year with a guy like Victor coming out, it was worth it once we saw that Cade went down and we had other injuries and we had such a young team. The year has been very eventful we're going to talk about more, some of the young players that have just continued that I'm just going to continue to talk about because they're just so amazing. But we have a lot to look forward to. The draft. The draft lottery, I believe, is May 16th, where they're going to decide the draft order, and that's going to be, again, a huge day in Piston history. But let's get a little bit into the game last night. We lost 123 to 108. We were 7 points ahead in the first quarter, but we finished. Joe Harris went insane and hit like 6 threes in a row, and because we were up 7 in the first quarter, and we ended up behind 47 to 34. Duran again had the man child. I always say he's a boy playing among men, playing like a man among boys. And he is just such an impressive player. But he had 18 points, 9 for 11. The sad thing for me is he 9 for 11, but he started out 5 for 5. With 3 minutes left in the first quarter, he was 5 for 5. But so the remaining 26 minutes of playing time, he was only 4 for 6. So he didn't get many shots for the last 26 minutes that he played, and we just need to get that guy more touches. So he also had 8 rebounds and 2 assists, and he's continuing just to be a great player. It's interesting, him and Ivy. That's the second time that they've done scored 50 or points combined between the two of them. The second most times that 2 rookies for the Pistons have scored 50 or more. Sorry about that. Kelly Tripucka and Isaiah Thomas did it 11 times, and Duran and Ivy have done it twice. And no other combo of rookies have done it more than once. So that's quite a pair we have there. So Ivy had 23 points last night, and he shot 9 for 22, 2 for 6 on threes, 3 for 3 on free throws, 5 rebounds, and 10 assists. But with 7 minutes left in the second quarter, he had 11 points and 7 assists. So he didn't get so many assists the rest of the way, but he still is electric. He's still I say he can have the ball, and the other 9 guys can be between him and our basket, and he still turns it into a fast break because he is so fast, and he can just blow through everybody. But R.J. Hampton, he had 27 points, career high, and he had a huge third quarter. He had 9 for 15, 5 for 8 on threes, and it was really cool, though. He gave a big shout out to Coach John Beeline, our player development senior advisor, and he's working with these guys. He's working with Cade right now, every day, and they're getting in there, and they're improving. Again, I continually mention the significant changes in Ivy's form, and and his effectiveness has just steadily increased on his three-point shot. Wiseman had played 29 minutes, which again I'm happy. Wiseman and Duran got to play at least 30 minutes, and Wiseman had 16 points, and he started out 3 for 3, and then they kind of went away from him too. But he was 5 for 10 overall, 6 for 7 on free throws, which was good, and like I said, he started out 3 for 3. So we played with only 8 players. I mean, that was a tremendous, performance by those guys. Only 8 players, and Amarui gets hurt, and so then his minutes were way limited. But we were behind by 74 to 57 at halftime. I think at one time we cut it back to 4 points, and it just was tremendous. But anyway, keep your eyes and ears open. I'm sure that they're going to meet probably immediately after the game. We have the 2 road games left, and at Chicago and at Indiana. We're tied for the worst record in Piston history. I think we have a very good chance of winning at Indiana because they really want to tank because, our draft position is locked in. They're right there with a bunch of other teams that are, have a chance to. They have no chance of making the playoffs, but by losing, they have a chance of improving their odds. So Well, thank you for listening. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe and leave a thumbs up. Please share with your friends. I do appreciate all of you, even if you disagree with me. I'm just a coach and a Piston fan that gives my opinions, and it's been fun for me, and I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope at least even if you disagree with me, it's got you thinking about some things, and hopefully maybe even a little bit entertaining. But do something nice for somebody today. Call up an old friend or a parent or a grandparent, or just a smile at somebody, a stranger passing by, and make a difference in their day. But thank you for listening, and go Pistons.